I'm Phil Howard, and this is the Great British Chef's Signature Series. We created a really fantastic home delivery service, a formulaic way of having fresh pasta, pasta sauce, some pasta water. In 3 or 4 minutes, they've got a pasta dish that genuinely can be exactly the same standard that we serve in the restaurants. As a chef, you're in the business of delivering pleasure, and certainly pasta fits right into that category. It's an opportunity to cook at a price point that I've never cooked before, to make it completely accessible. Ultimately, what's motivated me always is just the thought of being able to do something, to do it really well, and give truckloads of pleasure to people who choose to walk through the door. I'm Phil Howard, cooking a wonderful pasta dish, a bucatini with a bolognese of root vegetables and chestnuts. I love this dish. It's just incredibly kind of humble. It's a great opportunity to do something that's really seasonal. It's one of those recipes that as a chef I really enjoy cooking, because you take a gaggle of some of nature's most delicious but humble ingredients, and it turns out a sauce that is it's shocking how those flavors come together and create something really special. Everything pretty much in my repertoire starts off with an onion and possibly some garlic. So we've got to get the onion finely chopped. Everything else goes through a mincer. And when you're trying to create a sauce that's gonna cling to pasta and have the texture of a bolognese, actually mincing the vegetables does a much better job than finely dicing them, you know. But some things just don't enjoy being minced, and an onion is one of those things. It just crushes it and it makes it wet, and then it doesn't sweat nicely. So we chop the onion. I'm also going to get some garlic and just microplane that. I do lots of different things with garlic, but when you're going to sweat it with an onion, I think, you know, microplaning is just quick, it's simple, it just does a really great job. We now take a little bit of olive oil and then some vegetable oil. So this goes in. When you sweat an onion, what you're trying to do is to get the flavor to come out of the onion into the surroundings. You're not trying to seal it. So it's really important to do it over a gentle heat. Get the seasoning in at the beginning, because that also helps to ensure that the juices are extracted from the onion rather than getting sealed into the onion. You know, the base of a sauce, I almost can't think of a sauce that doesn't start with a shallot or an onion, and it's so important that that just happens unhurried. So I'm just going to take that off the heat for a second. The next part is mincing all the vegetables. There's lots of slack here. It doesn't have to be any particular range of things, but we've got butternut, we've got some celeriac, some parsnip, carrots, turnip, beetroot, just gives great colour and sweetness and earthiness. The one other final ingredient is cooked chestnut. These are those backpack chestnuts that are very easy to get, and they mince into a really almost like it's not a flour, but you'll see when they come out, it's very dry. And the key thing here is that we're gonna mince them. So this, I'm just going to put the whole lot into the tray. Chestnuts as well. If you don't have a mincer, which I understand is going to be most people's situation, the next best thing would actually be to get a food processor and chop them up a little bit finer, and then just pulse it. What you want to avoid is just to have all little perfect cubes. So then the next thing is to cook that out, and what we want to do is get it over a high heat to begin with, just to get the momentum going. So important to have a decent sized pan. The bigger the surface area you've got, the nicer this lot will cook, because it's got plenty of space to caramelize. We literally add it all in. Every time you add more, I like to then add the seasoning for that component too, because apart from anything else, it seasons it, but it also helps to, what we're trying to do here is get rid of moisture, trying to reduce it down and concentrate the flavors. And so now really what we've got to do is we just got to spend a good 5 or 10 minutes just keeping this moving. It's really getting into a sort of a pulp, but that's exactly how we want it. It's all kind of come together into one great mass. And now what we need to do is change the approach and get the liquid in there and a few other seasonings, and just let it slowly cook like any bolognese. Some finely chopped rosemary, a couple of bay leaves, a couple of 3 or 4 sage leaves, the tomatoes, and just stir that in. So that we just got to let it come up to boil. Then we're going to cover it and cook it for 2 hours at 120. So it's important that it goes in the oven, because an oven at 120 degrees is heat obviously that's coming from all round. It's a gentle cooking process, but it does want to be covered. You want, yes, a little bit of moisture is going to evaporate, but ultimately it wants to stay covered. So just cover it with either a lid or a bit of parchment. So that is that, and we then bid it farewell for a couple of hours. So while that ticks away, we've just got to make a dressing. So we've got hazelnuts. This is incredibly quick. We don't want to do anything more than just crush a handful of hazelnuts. So there's your cracked hazelnuts. They just go into a bowl. We then just want to get a little handful of sage leaves. Run a knife through those, nice and fine. They go into the bowl. We then got one pickled walnut. Pickled walnuts are a unique thing. There is nothing else like a pickled walnut. It is malty. It's sweet and sour. It's got tang. It's got that lovely unique flavour of walnuts. Those just want to be cut into smallish pieces. If you over chop them, they'll just go to a pulp. The final ingredient to that is nutritional yeast flakes, often used as a sort of a cheese substitute in vegan cooking, and it just brings that kind of umami, that cheesiness. So we put in 1 spoon of those, and then we flood it with olive oil, a little bit of pepper. And this wants to be a loose dressing. It doesn't want to be as thick as a pesto, so we'll just stir that together, because you want to be able to drizzle that over the top. So that's just fantastic. There's bundles of flavour and texture in there. Have a little, absolutely rocking, that is. A good couple of hours later, dig your lovely sauce out of the oven. And so it is just a case of have a taste, and then season it as you see fit. I'm gonna give it some more pepper. I'm also gonna add a pinch of sugar to that. Sometimes you just taste something, and ultimately with the tomatoes in there, there's always an opportunity to kind of offset that sourness with a bit of sugar. And then olive oil, you just want to stir in for that, a good couple of 100 mils of olive oil, and that will really give a whole nother layer of flavour to the sauce. And because it's not going to get cooked out, it'll just sit there and taste like a beautiful finishing olive oil. So there is our sauce. What we need to do, as with any pasta sauce, is put your sauce into the pan. The other thing that's just so important with pasta is pasta water. At Otto, we supply the pasta water, which also doubles up as a chill pack, and it just means that we can guarantee a consistent product. So you either ladle out a spoonful of pasta water, or add, as we do. Here we've got bucatini. That's going to take, it'll take probably 90 seconds in the water to cook. We then want it to finish cooking in the sauce. That is now hot and pretty much ready to go, so we can drop the pasta into the water. In it goes. We just want to give that a little jiggle just to check that anything that might have stuck releases itself. Okay, we then lift out our bucatini into the sauce, and then we just want to let that just cook for another 30 seconds, a minute. That wetness in there wants to go. Pasta should never really have any excess sauce with it. But it doesn't take long. Once it's started to boil again, you can just see the bucatini just pulling the excess liquor away, tightening up the sauce, which is exactly what we want. They've got a mind of their own, bucatini, they're good. This dish is just also very much about the nutty, sagey, savoury. It is a kind of pesto that then gets drizzled over the top. And there we have it. This is my bucatini with a bolognese of root vegetables and chestnuts.